Okay, it says I'm live. It says I'm live. I have no idea why I was not able to go live on the link that I had before. So I don't even know how to do this. Well, hi, intuitive energy understanding. You found me. I don't get it. I really don't get what was going on there. Does anybody understand what just happened there? I really don't know. And then on the other link, I had, let's see. I'm sorry. I'm kind of faltering right now this morning. I had Larissa on the other link. I was chatting with her about being my moderator, and I made her moderator, and I was pressing live and it wouldn't work. So I don't know. I hope you're finding me, Larissa. If any of you could maybe go to that other link and put this new link on there. I could use some YouTube help if anybody knows how all of this works. Hi, everyone. It is Candace Craw-Goldman. It's the 16th of November, 2019, and I haven't chatted with you for a little bit. I've tried to make some modifications, one with my camera, so it wouldn't make the weird, let's see, is it doing it? The funny light thing. I've kind of closed my window. I don't know if it was the sunlight competing with my indoor light here. I also made an upgrade on my microphone for the weird microphone things going on. So I'm hoping that we are increasing our production values here, but obviously I could still use some help. I didn't get that other link to work. It just spun. It says going live, and it just spun for like 2 minutes. Okay, enough of all of that. Thank you so much, those of you who have joined me today. It's Monday, right? And I wanted to catch up with my lovely friends here on YouTube. I decided to call what I wanted to talk about today the September Stepback energies, because there's something going on still with the energies out there, right? I think I called in August, I talked about a reset energy, and a lot of people talked about something similar. They talked about the resetting of energy in the collective, in humanity, and needing to reset what was going on. But what I have found is it's kind of continued, right? It's continuing on, or we're not understanding the best way to reset or to use these reset energies. So that's something that I wanted to talk about today. Some of you also might have seen that I'm still learning YouTube. Some of you might have seen, I put on a poll in the community section, and I talked about possibly offering a webinar. And I also put the same question out to my Facebook friends, and I got some lovely response. So what I've decided to do is, just recently, I had a client for a week from today. My client that I had a BQH session scheduled with a week from today needed to reschedule her session for a later time. So I had this slot, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to use that slot for this webinar and to connect with people out there in this way of this energy of resetting, stepping back, reevaluating. The question was about burnout. And so I do a lot of consulting, primarily with other practitioners. I do consult with people in the public, of course, and I do consult with my own clients, of course, but a large portion of my interaction on a daily basis is interaction with other healing practitioners, primarily those who practice Dolores' method and/or BQH, quantum healers, people who are on our quantumhealers.com website. That's my base. That's my community. That's been going on for 11 years now. You know, those are my peeps. Those are my the people that I talk with most consistently every single day. And so during those consulting sessions, I've found a pattern, and that's what prompted this whole idea of burnout. And I set the question out as practitioner burnout, but I got some feedback with people saying, well, just burnout altogether. So I started exploring that a little bit more. And that was why and how I came up with the idea of possibly offering a webinar. So I am going to offer it. I just found the date. It just happened right before going live today, just a few minutes ago here on YouTube. So I couldn't set up the link, but I will, and I'll put that in this video. I'll put the link to the webinar that I'm going to be offering that'll be happening next week if you're interested in joining me. I will put the details there. I'm going to talk a little bit about more of that today as I talk just really about everything. I want to thank so many of you for showing up. Gosh, we have, hi, Debbie Hazelton. So nice to see you. Gosh, you know about Tech Gremlins. Yes, I know you do. We've got Mary and Morgan and April and Larissa is here. And cool, you're still a moderator. You found me. I don't know exactly how and what happened there, but I'm glad you figured this out. I like your little wrench too. Ooh, Jen, I made you a moderator too. I think that's what that wrench means. After my last show and some rather nasty trolls that popped around, and some wonderful good friends who told me about said trolls chatting over there in the chat box, I discovered there's a thing called moderators. So if we have some yuckiness happening in the chat, feel free to do whatever it is that moderators can do, and you'll let me know, right? Because I'm still learning this. Thank you so much, because, you know, my friends who are here with me, watching my back and watching each other's back there in the chat, it's a wonderful thing, and I do thank you for that. So it's been a tough week for me. Has it been a tough week for you guys? I've had a really great day. I've had a wonderful morning. I want to talk to you about some of what I've already done this morning. But to be quite honest, I had a really tough week last week. It was just Tuesday of last week that I had to make the very difficult, very hard decision of putting my absolute favorite cat down. And I kind of knew it was coming. I was hoping that he might exit out on his own, but it didn't work out that way. And the thing is I had just lost another cat. I have lots of animals. So, you know, I have lots of love for lots of animals, but my kitties, the felines, they really have my heart. And I had just lost my cat, Luke, in August. So like barely a month after losing one, I have lost another. And this second guy was so much a part of my life. I want to talk about that a little later in the show too, and possibly even read you guys something if you're interested. I'm going to find out if you are. But I've had a really, really tough few days, the kind where it's been hard for me to talk without kind of losing it and breaking into tears. But I sat down this morning and I wrote a little bit about it. And this cat epitomizes a lot of things, but he also illustrates what's going on in the world. So let me step back again to talking about this energy, right? So here we are coming up to the equinox, and we went through the Lion's Gate and all of that, and we did the resetting. And what I've found, once again, to step back and talk about consulting and talking to other practitioners, there's a lot going on out there. So practitioners, we kind of have our fingers on the pulse of what's going on in the collective, because when a lot of reports come back and practitioners gather together and they talk about some things, and in the communities here on YouTube and on Facebook, we compare notes, we can see some trends happening, and you can see a lot of the people who do the YouTube videos about earth energies and astrology and some of those things, some of those metaphysical things. You can see a lot of us tending towards talking about some of the same things. And there's a reason for that, of course, because we're all feeling some of this. And in our individual sessions, if we're the kind of practitioner that takes clients, we see these trends. But being a consultant of other practitioners, it's like I'm not just seeing individual trends, but trends from their groups of clients and their groups of clients and their groups of clients. So this really big thing has been happening from August, it started in July, but all the way through August, it continues throughout September. And I bet some of you out there are noticing this, even if you are not a practitioner, but you frequent these groups and you kind of watch what's going on out there with people who talk about these kinds of things. So it's back to the reset and the stepping back of stuff. We get resets all the time. This is nothing new. You know, a lot of this stuff is just repeating and repeating. But this one's a little different in that this is what I'm seeing. We get these energy resets and we're kind of somewhat used to them. So we reset and we go again. Well, the reset didn't work for a lot of us, right? We did, like, a lot of us did the thing that we always do or tend to do. You know, we go to our tools that we know, we go to our modalities that we know, we go to our rituals, our ways of thinking. We look at all of that, right? And we go back to that place. Well, here, I know where home base is. I know where a reset spot is. And we go back to that and we reset it. And what I have found in these last several weeks is going back into that kind of idea of a reset hasn't worked, because you need even, like, maybe reboot. Ooh, look, boot. Maybe reboot. Isn't that a cool clock? I love this clock. Maybe reboot is a better thing to say here, because it isn't just resetting. It isn't just closing out of your program. It's shutting down the machine and really doing a hard reset or a hard reboot. So what's going on? Because what a lot of people, oh, look, it just did the thing again with the, I'm sorry. I'm such an artist. I see the colors change. Let me get back on track. So what we've done is we've reset kind of the way we've always known to reset, and that didn't work. It didn't work at all. That kind of resetting has just taken us kind of back, or it's just like a major reset, not a major reset, it's like a minor reset, or it's an attempt at resetting. It didn't really reset anything, or it reset it just enough for it to get mucked up again. And we really weren't able to coast. I have heard a couple people out there saying September's been a little bit of a coasting energy. Maybe for some people. I haven't seen it as much. Here's how some of you may have seen it out there if you don't take clients. Have you seen how many people who do take clients suddenly have specials on their sessions, suddenly have great big sales, suddenly are extending sessions and sales? They're trying to drum up, you know, they've seen clients back off on sessions. And a lot of us out here who make our living by assisting clients, you know, for a fee, are needing to pay our bills, right? And so what a lot of practitioners I have been watching, practitioners that I know, but some practitioners that I don't know, just watching some of these groups and watching what's going on social media, I've seen a lot of these things come through, a lot of these sales and specials. And then I even saw the day when I knew that I wasn't just kind of imagining that this was an across the board thing, was the day that I saw some practitioners or got together and they did like this thing where they must all be in a community or connected somehow, and they all decided to bundle their classes or their services, bundle it and offer it for a combined price out there using all of their names. And I think there was a lot of names. I don't know, this thing I saw 7, 10, 12 names, something like that. Some people that I've known and followed for years were in this package bundle. And I was just like, well, yeah, look at that, right? And they must be experiencing exactly what some of the rest of us are experiencing. And so why are we experiencing that? Well, I think it has to do with this reset thing. And I think that a lot of people have, you know, wanted to book sessions and do some things, and they've gotten used to that. Like, you know, well, I need an upgrade. I need to go get myself a reset from this practitioner by doing this sort of thing. And maybe it's worked for some people and maybe it didn't work for others, or maybe people are just going, well, maybe I need to do something different. So it's even the clients who are realizing that the way we tended to reset needs to be shifted a little bit, because here's what I've noticed. I took a few notes. So many of us who are in the spiritual community, we realize that we've been programmed to do things in a certain way by society and by the powers that were and all that kind of stuff. And we've learned to recognize those programs, or many of those programs, and then dismiss them or not abide by them anymore. Here's what we're having trouble with doing. We're having trouble with recognizing that even if we have dismissed and are no longer following those programs, that kind of program pattern is something that we haven't learned how to manage and create in a new way. All we've done is create our own kind of program better, absolutely better. But it's the still dependence or falling back upon this idea of this pattern, this a programmed pattern. Well, it's kind of like to be very basic and very simple. If I don't feel well, if I feel sick, first thing I want to do, if I'm very 3D, is go to a doctor, right? Okay, that's a program thing, and I'm not saying don't go to see your doctor. I'm just simplifying an idea here. And if you are an energy worker, a spiritually focused person, or a practitioner, if you feel ill, the very first thing you do may not be to call your doctor. You may ask yourself what's going on in your world. What might be the root cause of my current discomfort or illness? You might go to a doctor too. I still go to doctors. Yes, I do. I think about it before I go a lot, but I just still do go, of course, to doctors. But do you see what I'm saying about the repeating of the programs, right? So a lot of 3D people, they're sick, they go to doctors. A lot of 4D looking into 5D, we have an issue and we go to a practitioner, or we go do this thing, or we go down our programmed idea of what we do to get ourselves back, to get our energy back, to get our flow back. And I think all of that is changing. I really do. And I don't mean that we won't have tools or won't have things to do. I think we just simply need to look at what we're doing. We need to look at it with some fresh eyes. And that's what I mean about stepping back. And I've been pondering this, and I've been thinking about this a lot. And that's where I came up with the idea of this, and asked the question about burnout. So it ended up, it started out being practitioner burnout, but really it's burnout for everyone. And so what is burnout? Well, burnout's this increasingly prevalent thing that happens. And Americans, oh my gosh, yes, I'm going to be very country conscious here. Americans, you do it worse than anybody. And you know why I can say that? Because I'm one, and I do it too. And I know the programming, I feel the programming, I still exist within a portion of that kind of programming, kind of can't get away from it. My business, my family, the way things are set up here. Also because I'm in charge of so many different things. I'm in charge of many different things. Two of the things that I was in charge of, these beautiful members of my family, these felines, have died in just the last few weeks. Two of them, two of the highest maintenance ones. And there's a strange kind of thing going on with that personally. I adored these two cats. But now that they're not here, some of my energy flow has been freed up to use in other directions. And I think that too is a part of this reset, re-energy kind of thing. Hi, there's Karen and Beth. Hi, there's Susan. Oh, thank you so much. And there's Kim. Thank you so much for joining me and listening in today. So I'm really deeply immersed in this reset, but in another way too. So I want to talk again about practitioners. I just shared on our Facebook page, Jennifer Hine was the last BQH practitioner's just Facebook article that I shared. And I was so struck by just the first paragraph of it, because what she said in that first paragraph, I want practitioners, particularly, but not just practitioners out there listening to this, to really hear this thing that I'm going to say, because she was feeling and sensing inside of her that she just didn't want to do sessions over the last month or so. Now let that sink in for a second. Just didn't want to do sessions. Now, a lot of practitioners out there are like, oh my goodness, I'm waiting for clients, and here's this person stopping the sessions. Well, she's not the only one, right? And, I have no idea about what her setup is or what commitments she has, or if she has the luxury, quite frankly, to basically say, I'm not going to do sessions for a while. But this is what's happening out there. So what she was able to do is tap into this wider collective flavor of what's going on here, of people stepping back and kind of going, wait a second, I'm going to think about what I need to do here, what I need to do next, and how to best manage my energy flow. And I'm not so sure that I have any standard, unified, universal answers or things to offer you all today. As a matter of fact, I want to explore these things myself, and I want to explore them in this burnout webinar. So that's one of the reasons that I'm putting it together. And for those of you tuned in a little bit later, I'm going to be doing that a week from today. I will put the link below when I get it all set up. I'm going to ask for a small fee because I'm using one of my session appointment times to make time to do this. And I'm going to do it next Monday. And it'll be live, but it will be available on replay. And I wanted to talk a little bit about at least how I'm going to set that up. I don't have the details in stone in front of me, but I will very shortly. So what would I do in a webinar? Well, I primarily, as a teacher's teacher, do webinars for those people who end up taking the BQH course, or et cetera, or do healing work. And my focus has always been on other practitioners. I don't know if I even ever have. I'm not so sure I have even done a webinar for the public before. This will be my first one. I am certain many practitioners will join me, but this is going to be open to everyone. But here is who I am as a teacher. For those of you who have taken the BQH course or who've been in the Quantum Healers Support Forum community, you may know that even though I talk lots of woo-woo things, I'm actually very, very practical. I'm extremely practical. And sometimes out there, some of this kind of talk, some of this kind of information giving, which is always appreciated, and I tune into a lot of it. I mean, it simply kind of goes over my head when it's very astrologically focused or very, specifically metaphysically focused with lots of labels and theories and things like that. I'm a practical gal. I'm an absolutely practical gal, and you can bet that a webinar I put on will have an element of practicality, absolutely actionable suggestions, printed out, accessible kinds of things that might be able to assist you during this time of reset, re-energizing and stepping back and figuring out how we're going to get ourselves through the equinox time and into this volatile fall that's in front of us. So practical. Maybe some new ways of looking at what burnout even is, because see, that's the crux of what's going on here. What I have found is that people are burning out, but doing the same thing to relieve that burnout. It's not working this time. It's not working this time. And here's one of the reasons I feel like I can offer these kinds of things, because I'm right in here with you guys, right? I really, really am. And I've made a couple of changes, plus, the deaths of my kitties has changed a couple things for me just in the last handful of weeks. And what I've decided to do in my life, and you may have seen me talk about it before in part, is to step into my creative flow a little bit more with artwork. And I have a lot to talk about that. And I see, and it's been so heartwarming because so many of you have been dabbling in your life with art and have come back to me and have said, I used to paint, or I do paint, or I just started painting again, or I used to do filmmaking, or I used to bake, or I used to whatever. And some of this is coming back. So there's I think that's tapping into something. The other thing that absolutely would be part of this webinar is a group of energetic beings that I'm calling themselves the Council of Healers. The Council of Healers, it came to me personally to begin with. They've come into sessions with other clients, but I haven't ever really interfaced with them with a public group in a public setting before. But that will happen during this burnout seminar. Some ways of interacting with the Council of Healers and doing an energetic connection, an energetic healing kind of meditation with everyone who's present during that webinar. So I plan on doing that. So that's what you can expect if you're interested in this webinar. There will be bullet points and other things that you can look up when I get it all set up here and just in the next little while. And I will put that below this video. Okay, so there's that. I did want to, let's see if there's any, Karen says, I'm still so new, but I can see how it feel like a good time while the energies have been so high. You're kind of in a different place when you're brand new to the practitioner work. But see, this burnout thing, a lot of practitioners have kept their 3D jobs, right? While they're trying to be practitioners, and their burnout is focused on their job. Okay, so burnout is coming in a lot of different ways. Some of the other places that burnout's showing up is caregiving. And I have to say, for me, that was part and is still part of my life. I mean, it's always been with my animals, but my father, who just turned 89, I have to do more. I have to focus on him more. He does not live with me still. He's still in his own home, but he needs more and more help, more and more care, more and more monitoring. And he's not just next door. He's a ways away, and I need to have help, a little bit of help with people checking in on him. And so I'm still in a caregiver capacity. It's just now no longer for these couple of kitties that needed caregiving in a very intense way have left me. But it's almost like so I can focus on more of that caregiving now has shifted to my father. Larissa said she just started painting again too. Isn't that amazing? And yes, to celebrate, I wore my Starry Night shirt. Isn't this fun? My daughter Lauren made this for me, and I just love this Starry Night shirt. And guess what I did? I signed up for a life drawing course. Yes, I did, and that will be starting like in less than 2 weeks. I am so excited to get back into that. I haven't done that in a long time. I used to hire models to come to my own studio. I used to teach life drawing, as a matter of fact, but I'm going to go to a class just to be around other people and draw with them coming up here real soon in the Doodah area. Yes, and for those of you who've never heard that before, Wichita is sometimes known by its locals as Doodah. I'm not exactly where that came from. Right here in River City, right here in Doodah, D-O-O-D-H. Yeah, so there you have it. Okay, let's see, we've been doing this half an hour. So a couple things. I wanted to talk about at least one more thing and maybe two. I'm gonna look at you guys in the chat and see if you're interested in the second thing. But before I do the second thing, we'll do the first thing. The meeting I had this morning was with 3 lovely women that I'm going to be meeting up with next month at something called it's like a goddess retreat. Beautiful teacher, metaphysical, spiritual teacher, Samantha O'Hearn has put together now, I think at least 3 different times, a retreat that she calls the Goddess Retreat. And it's a women-only retreat. A lot of practitioners show up, but a lot of just friends show up, get together, do some things, get together for a weekend, do some woo-woo things. There's lots of crystals and jewelry. There's some games. There's bonfires and food and, things like that all happening here next month in Missouri. And so it's the Goddess Retreat. And one of the things that I'm doing is putting together a small event for this retreat as part of the activities that we do together. And I was going to kind of keep it a surprise, but it's kind of, the cat's almost going to be out of the bag. So if you're coming to the Goddess Retreat, you're going to hear about it right here, right now. And it won't be a surprise for you, or not much of one. But so what is it that we're going to do? Well, of course, it has something to do with consciousness exploration. It has to do with, the stuff that I do, the stuff that interests me the most. But to tell you about it all, I have to back up a little bit and give you some history so it makes any sense at all. So most of you out there may know that I used to work with the incomparable Dolores Cannon. And among the many things that I did with and for her while she was working in Arkansas was, in the summer times, she would have an event that she called the Transformation Conference. And it was, I think it might have been, it was either in 2012 or 2013. I don't know. I'm bad about really remembering, but around that time, I said, Dolores, we should hold a practitioner reunion, and have everyone come back. And she was like, oh, I'm so busy with the conference. I said, that's okay. The support forum, the Quantum Healer Support Forum, because that's what we did back then. We only supported Dolores's students. It was we were very singularly minded back then. So I'll take care of that. And she's like, well, that's good, because, I've got this to do and I've got that to do. And I have this keynote speaker and I just don't have any more time and anything else I can give to this conference. I said, that's fine, Dolores. It's the practitioner thing, and you can show up if you want or whatever. And you don't have to if you don't want to, if you need a break or whatever. So she said, that's fine. And I set it up, and it was a marvelous success. And we had people come from all over the world, and it was amazing. And so one of the things that we started talking, some of the practitioners on the forum, and we came up as a group, with this idea that we wanted to do something called, to cap off this little reunion for practitioners, we wanted to do something called the SC Summit. So what was the SC Summit? Well, in practitioner lingo, SC is short for a number of things, actually. Short for subconscious. It could be short for super consciousness. It could be short for soul consciousness. It could be short for source consciousness. That bigger aspect of us that some of us can beautifully tap into in quantum healing sessions. Dolores, decades ago, called it the subconscious. We started really wondering, well, is it really the subconscious or what is it? And and then all these other terms, look how they all say S and C, right? So we just decided, well, we don't kind of know what it is in what application and when it is, in what version, when whoever is contacting it, but let's call that thing the SC. So we did. So the SC Summit, what was that going to be? And I said, let's put 3 people kind of up on stage, 3 practitioners, not just, clients or anything, practitioners who have proven that they can go into a relaxed trance state easily. Let's put 3 of them on stage at the same time, have them go into trance and contact the SC all at the same time. What would that be like? And God, I could see her face right now. I'm like, that's what I want to do, Dolores. She was like, well, why would you want to do that? Because it would be cool, Dolores. And quite frankly, I think, gosh, Dolores, I miss her. Gosh, I miss her so much. But the thing about Dolores, she could be she was such a character. And so this was not her idea, right? This was not her idea. So she was, well, why would you want to do that? And part of me was like, why? Because because I want to. We want to. So she was like, okay. So she gave us her blessing. And we did that first year, we did the SC Summit. That must have been 2013. Because, she didn't really pay much attention to what we were doing. I think she wandered in and wandered out a little bit during our reunion day, but the transformation conference was the next day. So she didn't stick around a lot. She did have a lot of things to do. She always did. She was always doing a lot of stuff. So she didn't ask too many questions, but there was a buzz after the whole thing, right? After the whole thing went down, and we were all, the next day was the beginning of the transformation conference. That's what we were talking about. We were talking about this in elevators. We were talking about it at lunch. We were talking about it walking in to see the speakers. And it was just on the minds of everyone. And we felt like it was just kind of amazing. And it was a lot of fun. It was extraordinary. We didn't know how it would work out, but it worked out better than we'd ever thought. And what we did was we collected questions from the audience in advance. It was all planned out. What would you ask the SC Summit if you had a chance? And so we collected these questions. And I think it was just me that year. I stood up on stage and with a stack of index cards and asked these people who were in trance, connected to the SC, to answer these questions. And it was amazing. It was extraordinary. So then we had the conference. Okay, so fast forward to the next year. And the next year, I believe that it must have been 2014, but me and my memory. Anyway, the next year we did it again. We got 3 different people, and we decided to have the next version of the SC Summit. And when we started the SC Summit of the next year, I think Dolores was, if I'm remembering correctly, I think she was there, but we were in the auditorium, but we were all down in front, right? Because there were, the giant auditorium. We had, 50, 60, 70 people, something, but we were all kind of, towards the front, and up on stage were the people who were part of the SC Summit. And I think what I saw was kind of Dolores sitting in the back of the room when we were getting ready to do the next SC Summit. And oh boy, I knew she was there too. And I really wondered what she was going to think. And it was great. It was spectacular, just like the year prior, even though it was 3 different people. The same thing happened. It was just as easy. It was just as amazing. We had different sets of questions, little different players. And we were well into this event, which must have lasted an hour and a half or something like that. And I noticed towards the end, Dolores standing up from her seat in the back of the auditorium, and she starts walking down the aisle. And I noticed that she's got her hand up like this. And she's got an index card in her hand. Gosh, that's going to almost bring tears to my eyes. She picked up an index card and wrote down her own question to give to the SC Summit. So she went from, well, why would you want to do that? to bringing her own question to the group. And as I recall, the question was, it was Flight 800. Was that a Korean flight? I'm really feeling her now. My body's buzzing. Was it Korean Air Flight 800? There was some sort of air, I don't know. You'd have to be an older person probably to remember this. But there was an airline that had gone down in the months prior And there was a lot of question about what had happened. You know, did a missile take it out? It disappeared. Was it the Russians? Something like that. If any of you in the chat remember this, I think it was Flight 800 just really comes to mind, though. I think something like that. Anyway, that's what her question was about. What happened to Flight 800? TWA, Flight 800, Korean Flight 801. Thank you, ladies. Thank you for bringing that up. And that's the question she asked, which, okay. And so then all three of the people in the SC Summit gave their response about what actually happened. And I'm going to hold off on repeating that just because I don't want to make any mistakes. But I will say that as the information was coming through, I was watching Dolores's face intently, of course, because this was huge, right? What this was from Dolores was a huge acknowledgement of the appropriateness of what we were doing. At first she shrugged her shoulders and said we could do whatever we wanted. But the second time she came and she participated in it and standing right there. And Dolores Cannon now or before, when she was in a physical form, she enters a space and that energy is just so huge. You could feel it. So she was up there, right? She was on the stage while all of this was going on. And I may have worked with her, but I was as starstruck sometimes as anybody, being in her presence. I just loved being with her. There you go. 800 exploded and crashed into the Atlantic just after takeoff from John. Okay. Is that what it was? Interesting. So that's, I don't know, Flight 801, 800. Okay. All right. So I think there's Karen and some of you in the chat are trying to figure out which flight it was exactly. I'm close. I don't have numbers, details like that correctly. Anyway, it was the mystery of this crashed airliner. And when the three different people gave their versions about kind of what happened and or why, and Dolores listened to it all, and she just nodded and you could tell even while the answers were being given and she was nodding that, if she would have been doing this, it'd be something else, but she was nodding as the information was coming through. And I don't know that she said anything right then while the people were in trance, but when it was all over and we were talking about it and the people who were in trance got up, she basically said, and that's the same information I've gotten from the SC when I've asked about that flight. Now, it was so much fun to hear that, right? Validation for the people, validation for the experiment, validation for what we were trying to do here. But that stinker, Dolores Cannon, so here's what she was doing. She was testing it. Dolores Cannon didn't bring up a question that she had a question about. She brought up a question that she felt she had insider information and access to the answer. And she wanted to see if doing this experiment with three people would provide the same information and the same answer. And it did. Yeah, so that was so much fun. So that was the SC Summit. And I still am kind of unclear. I don't know why. I've done it at least twice, maybe three times. It's starting to be a number of years now, so I'm a little fuzzy. Or maybe I'm on a different timeline. Anyway, that's what the SC Summit was. And no, we did do it another time. We did it. I was in charge of one more reunion, one more year, several months after Dolores died, but then that was it. I had no more to do with anything that goes on over there anymore. So we've done it a number of times, and it's always been spectacularly amazing. But it's been a while, right? With Dolores, then it was 2014. It was 2015, one more time after she died. And it's 2019 now. I've really not done anything like that since, except for maybe some tandem sessions on my own. but not with 3 people, certainly. So guess what we're going to do at the Goddess Retreat? An SC Summit, you ask? Why? No, we're not doing an SC Summit. You know what we're going to do? A DC Summit. You want to guess what DC stands for? We're going to do a DC Summit. We're putting 3 ladies into trance, and we're contacting Dolores. And so this morning, I got together with these 3 ladies, and we kind of set our parameters of, how we're going to do this, how we're going to set it up. And we did something kind of like a dry run, but not really. So 2 of the ladies are practitioners, and one of the ladies is not a practitioner at all, but is a former client of mine who has had Dolores pop in more than once. She's a very talented channeler. Doesn't call herself that at all, but yeah, she's very tapped in. So I got together this morning, just right before this show, and we got together and we did kind of we set it up, and we set up how we're going to do this, and basically we did a relaxation. We did the first part of the BQH induction, water alchemy and intention ceremony to bring it all together, to basically ask permission. Hey, Dolores, here's our idea. We'd like to do a DC Summit. What do you think of that? And that just ended just a little while ago, and it was wonderful. It was amazing. It was spectacular. Goosebumps all around, and always at the same time. We got some information about who might show up, what kind of things might be talked about. And that's what we're going to do at our Goddess event in October next month. So Susan, I know you're going to be there. Hi, Nina. And, lots of people who show up to these YouTubes are coming. It's going to be a rather large event. Really looking forward to it. There's going to be a lot of surprises. So that won't be the only surprise that I've sort of ruined for you all. But we recorded part of what we did this morning, because we actually asked permission also to videotape this thing to possibly release to the public when it's all over. So this may be something, I don't know that we would record and present the whole thing. Typically that's not something I personally do, but certainly there will be recaps, and certainly there may be portions of what we do released to the public here on YouTube in a show. And we did get some, advice on what to do and how to set things up. And we got some incredible validation across the board between all 3 ladies who got individual bits of information that came back and outside on the other end, aligning and just confirming that they were all very much tapped into the energies of Dolores Cannon, and that we are on for a DC Summit here in a few weeks. So anyway, did she bring cookies? No, she didn't. No, she absolutely did not bring cookies. There was no cookies available here. Dolores Cannon, the Dolores Cannon is interesting. She was quite focused on the cookie thing when she was alive. I haven't had any cookie conversations with her since. I did. I will share this because this is interesting. When we were setting up with these ladies, beautiful Priscilla Luce is one of the ones who are going to be doing this. I'll just go ahead and tell you who all too. Hara Katsiki, Priscilla Lewis, and Jennifer Yoakum, Jenny Thompson is these are the three ladies. And when we were getting ready to do our little kind of ask and dry run, we took a quick break. Why did we take a quick break? Because Jenny's dog was starting to howl and make noise. And while we were setting up and doing some of that, Scylla asked me how I was doing since the death of Samson. And I found that interesting. She was asking me about my cat. Jenny's dog was howling. We both felt Dolores. We just both, all of us had felt Dolores, and Dolores felt like she was right here. And then I started to poke fun a little bit. At Dolores, because Dolores didn't have pets and didn't much care for them. And so I was poking at her a little bit about that, maybe why the dog was howling, because the dog knew that Dolores was coming. And she did talk about that. She said, "Oh, now you're making fun of me." So, Dolores does banter, absolutely, for sure. I hadn't talked to her about that in that way, but my cat was very much, how cats do the thing where they kind of, they weave in and out of people's legs. I had a real vision of my cat who, I hope you don't think it's too sad, but so I'm sitting here, right? And this is the room I kept that cat in, and his bed was right here. And actually he was put down right here just 6 days ago. And I always feel Dolores on my right hand side. And while all this is going on, I'm feeling that cat do the windy thing through Dolores's leg. And I'm kind of snickering at her because I know she really didn't like pets. I mean, that's maybe unfair. She didn't focus on them, and she didn't have them. I mean, some of her family did down the road and everything, but she didn't have any house dogs or house cats or anything like that. And I never spoke of them at all, actually, in kind of any way. And so I kind of made fun of her that the cat was rubbing between her legs, and she was rolling her eyes. So that was pretty funny. All right. Okay. Well, so that's that. And I've been with you guys, gosh, for 50 minutes now. I was going to see if any of you out there might be interested in me reading the first part of, oh my goodness, Transformation. Is that you, Michael? It'd be so cool if it was. I think it might be. Nice to see you. I thought I might read to you the first part of a story I was writing about Samson, the book, the cat that I'm talking about, the one who just left his physical form 6 days ago. It's a project that I'm working on with my beautiful friend, my beautiful veterinarian, Jessica. We are putting together a book about pets and the things that kind of we've learned about them. And we're putting them together from a perspective like this. So I'm the metaphysical, spiritual healer person, animal lover, who, when I talk to Jessica a lot, I talk to her from that perspective. Of course, she's an animal lover. She's a vet. And she's so open-minded, and we talk about things all the time. And then she's going to tell stories. And of course, her perspective is of a vet. So we're going to both tell stories and then give each other's perspective on our stories. So that's what we are doing in this book project that we're doing together. So there will be lots and lots of characters and lots of stories in this book. And I wrote my first story today about Samson. And so maybe it's a little too long to get into today. This is almost an hour, but if you are on Facebook, I might release part of it to Facebook. I wrote 1,300 words this morning, just like that. Thinking about Samson. The connection that we had was huge, special, and significant. And I think indicative of a little bit of what's going on out there with not only humans, but other species too. I don't think it's just humans that are making strides, ascending, expanding our consciousness, evolving. I think it is many of the animal kingdom, if not all of the animal kingdom and Earth itself, that's, moving up to the next octave. And I think there were things that happened in the relationship that I had with Samson that symbolized some of this expansion. And I absolutely believe that he was, as we all are, part and parcel, a fractal of another kind of energy that's just supporting all of this growth, expansion, and returning back to source. So that's what's going on there. I'm busy working on that. I'm busy working on another book. I'm going to be doing some collection of sessions, and I've got myself on a schedule to get these things out. So I'm working on 2 books. I'm still taking BQH sessions on a limited basis. I am still taking appointments. There's a few slots left this fall and through the rest of the year, in case any of you are all available. And of course, they are available in person, but I do 95% of my work online anymore. And how fun was that to do the DC Summit prep? I mean, online. We had Scylla in England, Hara in Germany, Jenny was in Arkansas, and I was here. All online. The energy was amazing. It was great. So, all the consciousness aligned just fine here using the internet. It was great. It was wonderful. All right. Gwen says, I would love to hear what you wrote. Okay. You know what? I will. Yes, I'll go ahead. I'll read like the first couple paragraphs. And then for those of you who might want to follow that, even though I'm going to collect these and re-edit them for a book, I think I'm going to release a lot of them on Facebook to get a lot of feedback, revamp, see what things are, people find interesting. And, you get a lot of energy that way, get a lot of interaction from people and see how that works. But okay, I will absolutely read a little bit. I can just click over to my Word screen, and it's a long, it's many, it's many pages to read the whole thing, but we'll see how it goes. Let's see. I'll check back in and see if you guys want me to read all of it. All right, here we go. I haven't even really read through this. This has not even been edited once. I sat down on the floor of the barn and just cried. What was I going to do? I looked up the stack of hay bales at Samson and Delilah as they happily ate their canned cat food. Samson didn't seem to be in much pain, but his injury was significant, and I was going to have to do something to help him. Earlier that day, I saw him skitter around the barn and peek out from beneath the big round bales of hay to see if I was bringing food. Not quite yet, Samson, I said, as I stopped what I was doing, crouched down and spoke softly. But soon. And that's when I saw his eye. I still don't know how it happened, possibly tussling with a passing stray tomcat, but his eyeball was severely damaged. It almost looked like a part of it was hanging out of his head. I'm not particularly squeamish, but I remember my lunch coming up to my throat. Oh no, I thought. He absolutely needs to get to the vet. How am I going to make that happen? Samson, a strikingly beautiful, long-haired black cat with gold and yellow eyes, was officially a barn cat, but had obviously spent the majority of his life wild and feral. He was mysterious and particularly clever. I was able to trap him just once for what I have in the years since past come to think of as the once-over for felines, vet treatment from Jessica. Blood work to check for FIV, rabies shot, worming, and any overt need for Jess's expertise or medicine. But he certainly wasn't going to fall for that twice. Once maybe. Twice? Nope. No way. He knew it and I knew it too. In the years since his initial capture and snipping, I had considered befriending Samson, a running farm project of sorts. He was so incredibly intelligent and beautiful. He was also extremely shy, and if cornered, wildly and frantically aggressive, and would explode in a swirling ball of black furry fangs and claws flying. To this day, I can see Jess's face when I picked him up from the clinic that first time and asked about both Samson and his companion, Delilah. Both negative for FIV, she reported. Delilah is sort of friendly and approachable, but that male cat? She had only one word and she delivered it with wide eyes. Whoa. These skittish and ferocious traits had served Samson well in the wild and had kept him safe. Feral cats in the area I live in are at risk to many things. But at the top of the list was nature herself. Owls, eagles, and coyotes will pick up cats for dinner when they can, and not as companions, but as the main course. Coyotes in particular were and are notorious culprits in many a farm cat disappearance. My years-long project was at first simply to be able to touch Samson at all. I could pet Delilah a little bit from the day we brought her back from the clinic, and I think this part I missed. See, I was able to trap them both once, so then they got fixed and stuff. She was skittish too, but not as volatile as Samson. I couldn't really pick her up with any ease, and I still can't. But I could sometimes pet her. I only dared to even try to pet Samson when he was busy eating his food up there on the top of the bales of hay. And I only got brave enough to do this in colder weather, when I had a coat covering my arms and gloves, always with gloves. All right, that's about half of it. You guys want me to finish? Okay, I'll see if you want me to finish. You've been with me an hour. Do you like my story? Do you want me to finish my story? Let's see if I'm losing people. Gosh, I've lost a few people. Well, we've been with me for a long time. So so that's about half the story. Okay, read more. Okay, I'll finish it. If it's got your attention, I will finish what I got so far. I've got so many stories, but this is just kind of the first one about Samson. Okay. Always with gloves. That was my last sentence, right? All right. And then one day, he finally let me touch him. He kept one eye on his dish, another on me, and let me stroke his silky black fur once or twice before scooting away. Celebration. I clearly remember skipping, yes, old me skipping back to the house with glee. I called Tom, my husband, right away, breathless with excitement. Samson let me touch him. Samson let me pet him. Well, sort of anyway. It felt something like being able to touch and pet a wild yet elegant black jaguar in the wild. The joy I had that day is easily recalled even now, many years afterwards. It took years of trust building, sweet talking, and tasty treats to be able to touch him, but I did, and I was ecstatic. I was never able to pick him up or to hold him, but I could pet him sometimes, and only while he was eating. But now I was going to have to try to do something to help him, and I didn't know how that was going to happen. I went over every idea I could think of to attempt capturing Samson. I even remember calling up Brian. Brian is also a vet, married to Jessica. A pretty good shot with a dart gun, I knew, and I talked to him about the possibility of sedating Samson in that way if all else failed. You know, sedation and a dart gun. Quickly, we decided that was a poor idea. The likely scenario was that he'd get hit and dive into some unknowable, unreachable shadow recess of the barn, probably under the giant round hay bales, and we'd be simply unable to retrieve him. I was 100% sure trapping wasn't going to work. He was too smart and too well fed. I might trap Delilah, maybe. And a few times trying that plan to catch Samson would only make it worse and erode the trust of both of them. So what was I going to do? I looked up through my tears as Samson finished his dinner and sighed. Time to ask for help. I closed my eyes and I prayed. I asked for guidance. I beamed my love for this cat, indeed my love and admiration for all cats out there, and sent out a call. I need help. I sat in silence a few minutes thinking of other cats I had known, thinking of St. Francis, thinking of our feline star family, my guides. Please help me. Please help me help this cat. And that's when it happened. I heard rustling on my right-hand side and I opened my eyes. I saw that Samson had jumped down from the square bale stack and was on the hay-strewn floor a few feet from where I was sitting. My back was against one of the large round hay bales. I wiped my own tears and got a better look at his injured eye, and I really hoped it wasn't causing too much pain. It was unusual for him to remain so close to me after eating. It was nice to have him near. Our eyes met. Well, one of his met the two of mine anyway. I told him, "You are still so beautiful, Samson. Let me help you." He circled around a bit and got closer, never taking his good eye off of me. And then he gave me what to this day remains one of the most incredible gifts I've ever gotten in my life. He walked over to me and he stepped onto my lap. I was stunned. I think I stopped breathing for a moment or two. He didn't stay but for a few seconds, and he looked at me the whole time before walking off and circling around again, but it wasn't my imagination. That cat, the one I had spent years crooning to even be able to touch with gloved hands, just sat in my lap. Oh, I knew without a doubt that meant I would be able to coax him into capture, and I did. I set up a medium-sized kennel, an open coated wire type with 2 doors for his next meal. I put his food inside and slowly closed both doors while he was eating. He stopped eating at the door latching, looking at me measuredly each time, but he didn't try to escape. Jess would be able to help him very soon. So that's my first story. And, I'll continue on with what happened with his eye and everything after that. But, long story short, that wild cat ended up being my lap cat, my heart cat, my cat that would let me do anything to him after that. And I just lost him 6 days ago. But lost him in physical. Well, on that note, thank you all for supporting me, for listening to me, for your love and all your beautiful hearts. So many of you have such tender, sweet hearts. That whole pet book is going to be filled with stories like this, learning and heart connection with the critters. I've always, I was so close to becoming a vet. I just love them so much. It's really good that I didn't, because, I'm so questioning of all things pharmaceutical and conventional. I would have kind of not done very well at it, I don't think, in the end, and had to have switched professions. But, teaming up with Jessica is crazy, right? Because I'm doing what I'm doing and she's doing what she's doing, and we get together a lot and we work together, and I learn from her and she learns from me, and that's kind of how this book's happening. And I have learned that much of what happens here at the farm happens not only for me, my learning, humanity's learning, it's for Jessica's too. Jessica as a vet, and Jessica as a spokesperson, hopefully for other vets who are waking up too. So I'm really excited about that project with Jess. And on that note, I made my dad a tiny cherry pie. He eats like a bird these days. He doesn't eat very much and things go to waste, but I made him a pie that big of a cherry pie. And I'm going to stop what I'm doing now and get myself into town and go give Dad some cherry pie. So thank you all again for listening. Bless you, and thank you, my moderators or people who stuck around to help me out and did all the chatting today. I love you all. I'll be in touch. I will later on today for sure. Maybe I'll bring my computer and do it at Dad's house. I'll set up the whole webinar thing for those of you who are interested. All right. Bless you. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a good day.